Evening, yeah, wrongin'. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Welcome to Live 217. I've entered the body of the Kirk early this evening because there's lots to do. Made a few editorial decisions today, and I'll tell you about those in just a second. So welcome to the body of the Kirk. I know a lot of people are getting their feet into the pews, ready for the sermon from the pulpit of truth. But let me tell you something. I've just realised I've been fighting the New World Order since 1989 and didn't even sing about it or dance about it or make a fuss about it. But I've been fighting the New World Order since 1989, and that is why you get nothing but the truth from me. Just saying, for reference, before you say anything. Let me just move that so I can make some notes, and we'll get into Parish notes. So, welcome. What day is it now? Tuesday. We've got one more to go. Maybe. If I can, I'll just say that I've spent all day researching. All day. Why? Well, last night's live, Sunday, was, in my view, excellent. And thank you to Ghetto Defendant again. But last night I felt that we were going towards a subject that I didn't have my full research in front of me. Because you know what I like to do? I like to do deep dives around certain subjects. And we touched on the 9/11 last night. Because I was, as I said on last night's live, sorry, I'm trying to get my words to actually fit a sentence and be coherent tonight, because it's just been, I know you're in exactly the same position, 2 not today, and it's going to be 2 not tomorrow. And I'm ginger and I'm from the north, so anything above freezing is a heat wave for me, so I can't function in this heat. But I will tell you that tonight I just thought, I can't. I mean, what kind of a wimp won't do a live tonight if it's Betty Swallocks? Well, I'm here. So all day I've been doing my research, 9/11 research. I've been watching videos left, right and centre. I've even watched the video of the bombs going off in WTC7 that was recorded somehow. So we've got all of that. We're going to talk about tonight in this sermon. We're going to talk about, have you got your popcorn ready yet? Are you watching America? Because you know what happens in America, don't you? And then what happens? Yeah, we follow. We just do as we're told. So Trump, when he was inaugurated, flooding the zone, and then the Labour Party corrupt government decided, that seems like a good idea. We'll flood the zone. So just get your popcorn, because, well, we'll talk about that in just a little while. Can I ask you a question? Is net zero simply a money laundering scheme? Just asking for a friend, because somebody asked me that question today. Well, they didn't. I made it up myself. But is it just a money laundering scheme? Billions and billions and billions. Well, they've got to get it abroad somehow, haven't they? Are we going to talk aliens tonight? Shall we? I mean, thank you to Des, the 3i thingy, I still can't remember what it's called. But December, so they've got something that they want. It's fear porn. You know that, don't you? They just want you to be scared, so you'll do as you are being told. So, you know, there's this 7 mile wide thing. They reckon, well, it's aliens. They're coming to get us. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. David's back. David Beckham. Oh my word! Have you seen all the reportage today in the newspapers? Brand Beckham, God blimey, our PR company. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. We got the front page of the Sun and the Daily Mirror. I mean, the Daily Mail. Well, sorry, the Sun and the Daily Mail. Sorry, I'm laughing in my head so hard that I can't actually speak now. I didn't get anything on the Daily Mirror because they're just left-wing bastards. So we're, all the left-wing, all the Marxists, all the communists can go and actually fuck Oscar. Aye, that includes you. So David Beckham, he's just, well, we're upset, man. We're upset. But at least we're getting loads of paper coverage today, man. Oh, I wonder if me bosses at the WEF will be happy with that. Do you think I'll get another award next year just for being David Beckham? So Trump's got DC under federal control. Howard Stern's gone. Howard Stern, you know, the broadcaster, the one that other people try to emulate and copy, loads of them. Chris Evans, Chris Moyles, and other people, they all want to be Howard Stern, and well, he's gone now. He was of a time, the 80s and 90s. He's not anymore. So Sirius XM, had away, Howard, man. And I want to talk to you about The Fall on Netflix. Because, well, it's brilliant. And it's got Gillian Anderson in it, which is, she's, if I can be male, and if I can just, well, I'm heterosexual, and, well, I did come out as lesbian on Real Radio. I have the audio. Do you want me to put it on the site? Do you want me to put it on YouTube? I came out in 2001, I think it was. So I'll put that on for you. But I'm definitely not the same as Jimmy Cranky. She's non-binary. She can't count up to 2. 0, 1. That's binary. You can't get up to number 2. So she's come out. So I thought I would come out in sympathy. And you know where you can find sympathy, don't you? Between shit and syphilis in the dictionary. And those that have already done that and gone, well, it's not. It's actually between so and so and so and so. It is in between shit. Anyway. I was going to do a funny about Jimmy Cranky there, but I've decided not to. I've got me hibiscus. Everybody's saying I'm sipping cold water. I'm having numerous cold showers. Not because of Gillian Anderson in The Fall, although there is I could actually have a cold shower before you say anything. I'm a married man. But we'll get to it when me mouth works and me throat works and me voice works. That's too hot. So Neil Cunningham first in the body of the Kirk this evening again. Neil, he says, "Oh, good evening all. Please take a moment to pay respect to the 5 innocent people shot dead by Jake Davison in Plymouth 4 years ago today in one of the UK's worst mass shootings." Of course, Neil, thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention, and welcome to the body of the Kirk, of course. Les Griffith says, how to stop the dinghies. Place a 50% tariff on all the goods from France. They will reciprocate. Question mark. So what? Question mark. We have the Commonwealth. We don't need France or the EU. They need us. Especially if prime ministers end up marrying men. You didn't see me lips move. Karen Boo, oh, hello, everyone. Hello, Karen. Need plenty of drink tonight. It's damn hot. Hot, damn hot, said, good morning, Vietnam. Robin Williams actually ad-libbed that whole bloody thing. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Karen Boo, hello, everyone. Need plenty of drink tonight. It's damn hot. I watched a video earlier of drone footage in Manchester. Wow. I was so impressed to see so many out on the street. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to you, Karen, for bringing it to our attention. Welcome to everyone to the body of the Kirk. We just do parish notes, welcoming everyone into the body of the Kirk. Smash the likes on your way in. Yeah, wrong. Yes, so smash the likes on your way in. I'm just trying to get myself all well regulated. Andrew James says, anyone noticing that? That's me throat. Broadcaster's throat. Andrew James says, anyone noticing the GB News is going down the Swanee? Our beloved Rev is pulling viewers from GB News. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your very kind words and welcome to the body of the Kirk. Evening, Les and Andrew. Les goes on. Every time the convicted stalker opens his mouth, I realise I don't hate him enough. Les, we'll just leave him alone because life's going to deal with him. Des Ashton, holy shizen! The news out of the USA, the presidential invocation of Article 740, can this really be the beginning of the end? Fingers crossed, says young Des. Des, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Yes, I do believe that we need to have massive buckets of popcorn. Because I know DC's, 5 hours behind us? So it'll be sort of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They'll just be gearing up for civil war. Wonderful, wonderful. So, hang on a second. If they're going to have civil war in DC, and the president, El Presidente, the orange man, the Donald, is in charge, How quickly will it get across here? Quickly. Andrew James says, evening, Neil. It's all go at the Kirk this evening. Paddling pools out. Paddling pools out. Bouncy castles are fully erected. Oh, we love nothing better than a nice erection. And Nicola Sturgeon is dancing cheek to cheek with Sister Mary to Donna Summer's LPs. Oh, yes. I remember yesterday, says Nicola. Although I call her Jimmy Cranky because, well, she's a lawyer and I'm not. I mean, look, she's kind of come out and gone, I'm non-binary. Well, we knew. We've known for decades. I mean, there was also the rumours about her and Big Eck. And, no. Not unless Big Eck had a fanny. You didn't see my lips move there, did you? I was just randomly speaking out loud about subjects I know nothing about. Des Ashton says, don't look at 3i Atlas. Look at the tanks on the streets of Washington, D.C. It's all diversion and misdirection and miss everything and diss everything. 80s rapping with dissing everybody, disinformation. Yeah. And they said to us, you can't have 80s rap anymore. Oh, I love myself a bit of 80s hip hop. Not the kind of 90s shite where they're all getting aggressive and they're all shagging blokes. You know, yeah, exactly. They're all, I've heard the video, I've heard the audio of certain rappers giving it large to certain other rappers. And giving it large has a completely different meaning nowadays to it as it did in the 80s. Bloody hell, honestly, my brain is fried today from this heat. I can't even think straight. Honestly, Des, I won't look at 3i Atlas. Now I've got it burned in my head, 3i Atlas. Is that one of the same as those atlases that can never get us from A to B? Les says, don't panic about the events in DC. There's no need to. Anons knew long ago this was coming, and why? Well, sit back, get some popcorn, and enjoy the show. Well, all I'm going to say to you, Les, and I know you're aware of this, and to everybody else that's in the body of the Kirk so far this evening, why do you think they put that fence? They've erected that fence around the House of Lords. Oh, the last time the peasants revolted, they went straight for the House of Lords. Can you not remember the peasants' revolt in the 1300s? Weren't you there? If not, why not? Stuart says, evening, Rev. Sister Mary's favourite part of last night's sermon was when we were talking about ice lollies. Ice lollies to avoid. She's being traumatised. I didn't ask her why. It's those happy feet, man, Stuart. Those happy feet. Isn't that the title of a film with a penguin in it? Or loads of penguins. Bill Gates, according to Andrew James, called his synthetic butter disgusting. Oh, get at the back of the queue, Bill. We already knew. And your appeal on fruit and stuff. No, I won't bloody eat it. And it's not organic. It's in chemical, said a spokesperson. Operation Scatter is starting, which will come first. Excuse me. Hold that thought, caller. Dear Lord. Oh, hibiscus, the cure-all for life. Dear Lord, the heat. Maybe God doesn't want me to say what I've just said, Andrew James. Operation Scatter is starting. Which will come first? Civil War or digital ID? There's a gag in there somewhere. But, digital ID. Well, the inquiry into digital ID closes on August 21st. We've only got till August 21st, 9 days to save the world. And as I say, I've been fighting the New World Order. I've been fighting the technocrats. I've been fighting all the people that you don't like since 1989. And I'm still here. How's that, Adrian? Well, I'm a little more intelligent than them. Neil Cunningham, thank you, Neil. I'm sipping ice cold water. I'll indulge in a spiced rum or two when the Rev gets into full flight. Fatal Racing Driver, hello, Fatal Racing Driver. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Welcome all. We have plenty with their feet under the pews, so I think we will get into it. Oh dear Lord, hang on a second. That is interesting. Well, I'm going for the gas, so to speak. My throat's tightening up, which is unusual. Technical term, can't see my lips move, you're wrong. Mephistopheles, ice pack on my scrotum. Mephistopheles, can I borrow yours? Your ice pack, not your scrotum. You're wrong. Nicky Watson, evening one and all. Evening, Nicky. You bovrils in the body of the Kirk. Public Enemy, the only public enemy I have come across is Starmer. Public Enemy number one. Don't believe the hype. Public Enemy were a great hip hop band from the 80s. I mean, just They played Glastonbury a few years ago when I was living in Scotland, and I apologise to my neighbours at the time because I just whacked the TV up full. Public Enemy. Now there's a band for you. Hope you're okay, Rev. Thank you, Stuart. We're getting there, and I hope I can go for a couple of hours tonight because I've got so much research that I've done today and so many notes. I think I've got about 20 pages of notes. So it might be a dodgy live tonight. It might be. We're going to keep going for 8 hours. The BBC haven't got yet, have they? Says Simon Clarkson. No, not by my scrotum. By me sphericals. Lauren Taylor. I say, Paulie Galtieri. Indeed, we call it swelling. The moorland was burnt, as in swally, as in the Scottish for grog, for drink. Now, I'm gonna admit something. The minute I finish this live, because I didn't sleep last night because of the heat, and I haven't functioned all day today because of the heat. So when I finish this live, I'm off to the pub. If you don't mind, I'm going to neck half a dozen before I walk through the door because it needs doing. 43 degrees today in Bordeaux, says the Bad Wolf Project. Bernie hot. Still, 32.5 at 8:30 p.m. Walking dogs by the river. Back later. I think you might need a swim in the river, Bad Wolf Project. Good to see you in the body of the Kirk with Paulie Galtieri and Les Griffiths and Des Ashton. 2-tier is just another prick in Whitehall. There's a gag there somewhere, Des. Simon Clarkson might be Nottingham Forest. No, Nottingham Forest is Sunderland is my team. But I always look out for Nottingham Forest because of Brian Clough and because of working in Nottingham. Century 106 was just round within walking distance, just round the corner, as was the cricket ground. But Nottingham Forest holds a very dear place in my heart, Simon Clarkson. Karina Jane, loving the heatwave. Oh, bloody hell, man, Karina. Can't you leave us alone, you wrong'un? Bloody heatwave. It's going to last all week, seemingly. It's going to be a bit of rain Wednesday, maybe, which will be good for the garden. Oh, God, I've got to water the garden. I forgot about that. Jesus, there'll be divorce on the cards. Amalia Grassi. Hiya. Can't believe the time. Massive headache. Trying to find a birthday present online for hours on end. Something too simple, so fucking hard to find. I know. Amalia. What are we to do now? Because we can't go to the shops because none of them exist anymore. Karina Jane, you tease. Lauren Taylor. No, swelling as in Swales more in Halifax. But they call it sniggling. Really, Lauren? Yorkshire got its own language. So Rebel, we need to suck it in and store it, Karina, ready for the window. We can't turn the heating on. Yes, exactly. And when the Rev finishes the live, Andrew James, you're wrong. I don't know what. Honestly, I've not coughed all day, and then I start this live, and here we go. Andrew James says, when the Rev finishes the live, he's going to raid his wife's wardrobe and we'll sing Downtown in the pub. I won't be able to open my mouth, young Andrew James, simply because it'll be full of beer. Amala Grassi. So, after at least 4 hours, had to settle for a wrong cycling vest for a boy. Oops. David Graham, it's about 24 degrees in Sunderland tonight. Jesus, hotter than the sun in Sunderland. You'll notice that the locals call it Sunderland, not Sunderland. Sunderland, 2 U's and the D silent. Yep, they aren't as educated as us Lancashire people, says Lauren. And the adrenaline has kicked in, Rev. I know, bloody hell. I need more hibiscus. I mean, you can't really have Jaeger bombs in the heat because Jaeger bombs are meant to warm you up from the inside, and Jaeger bombs are for skiing, and we don't ski until October. Adrian, before we controlled fires to manage the lands in summer, we were talking about wildfires across Europe. I know, and we haven't had any recently. Fucking phone. Amalia's she's now beyond knackered. We'll have to tap out and go get something to eat and de-stress after internet bollocks. Technical term, obviously. Keep well all, and see you tomorrow. Cheers, Amalia. See you tomorrow. And you'll start the live from this point and go, oh, that's where I was last night. Raymond Moore, glorious here in Hereford, nowhere better to be. Raymond Moore, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Thank you for your communication. I started reading it with great interest today, and we'll finish it off after the live, after I've had a few swallies at the local watering hole. But thank you all the same. Lovely for you to be in contact. For me, thank you. Karina Jane sending wine to all who needs one. Altar wine, well, fair dues, Karina Jane. We need Battenberg as well as the altar wine, but do we have to put ice in the altar wine this evening to help everybody with this in heat? Rich, is it something in the room, Adrian? I noticed you didn't cough when you did your lives away from home. Could be, Rich. Could be. Paul Mabley, Sunderland. I was there yesterday. Loads of changes, including Chester Road roundabout, where I got arrested for having a piss against a lamppost during post-exam celebration. And I say, Paul Mabley, did you really? On Chester Road, near the Chesters? Well, just wonderful, wonderful. I do think the, God's country is improving. And the seaside is getting better in Sunderland. I mean, it just looks fantastic in there. Anyway, I'm not gonna brag about my home city, but night all, Amalia. Simon Clarkson, me the same. Cough is the only reason I support them from being 10. I'm born and bred in Nottingham. Trevor Francis, first £1 million player. I know, and the first £500,000 player was David Mills, an old friend of mine from my radio days. Cough caused by that triffid behind you. It's taken me 13 years to build that triffid, you wrong'un. Do you keep caged birds, Adrian? No. A friend of mine does. And I know in Japan they clip their wings so that they can't fly. They just kind of hop about within the house. And I went to a friend's house and it made me so sad. Birds have got wings so they can bloody fly. But, people that own them don't want them flying around and dropping shite everywhere, all over the brand new sofa in the living room. So, I wonder if it is the plant. It's a yucca, by the way, if you're asking. Yucca. I've got a gag for a bird in a cage, but I can't remember it, so I'm not going to do it. So, what we're going to do tonight. I said in the sermon, for everybody that's in the body of the Kirk, we're going to talk about the US of A. We're going to talk about what's going on in Washington, D.C., because the Donald is not mucking about. We'll talk about the Beckham watch. Oh, man, it's Beckham. Do you know Ronaldo? He's the gayest looking straight man I've ever seen in my life, and he's getting engaged to a woman that he's been in a relationship with for 9 years. Really? Can you not remember Tom Cruise, who was married to Nicole Kidman, and they were married for 10 years, and then they got divorced about 6 months before Californian law kicked in at 11 years. So once it kicks in at 11 years, the wife gets half of everything. She didn't, because they didn't make it to 11 years. So Trump has got DC under federal control. Civil unrest in Washington, DC, anyone? Or am I just being a cynical old tart? So why have they built a fence around the House of Lords and Parliament? Why? Do they know something that we don't? Are we all getting a bit fried by the... when was the last time you saw them blocking out the sun? Because they want us to roast. They want us to get very tired and very annoyed and very grumpy, because then if it kicks off, everybody kicks off. So maybe that's why they built the fence, because they know something's about to kick off. so that it diverts our attention away from August 21st. August 21st, that's all we've got to save the world. But this civil unrest in Washington, they had civil unrest. Nancy Pelosi, January 6th, and in the transition period, will that be the trans? Just for the Democrats, they'll get the reference. But why have we got a fence around the Houses of Parliament? What, Tyler coming back? I mean, he must be stiff and a bit decomposed, but remember, whatever happens in America happens here, sooner or later. And the Labour government want unrest. I think they wanted unrest after Southport to divert your attention away from the utter horror that went on in Southport. They wanted... It's all right-wing thugs. Thugs, I'm telling you. Right-wing thugs. So everybody went, oh, so... hang on. Get a defendant says, anyone want to buy some gunpowder? A bloke I know called Fawkes is selling barrels of it. Kaboom! They're not in there, not till September, just before the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. Is your yucca dusty? Oh, that could be it, Terry. That could be... yeah. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. I might have to chop it down at some point and stick it in another mahoosive pot. But it's... God, it's well over 6 feet tall, the Ron. Ray Norton, I have tampons with wings and they can't fly either. Evening Ghetto Defendant. Andy Turner reckons it's getting up my nose. Could be. Paulie Galtieri, 400 gimme grants came in yesterday. I mean, they were talking, is it 50,000 under this Labour government? And they're spending money on them. But remember, the stuff that's in the newspapers, in the mainstream media, is simply there to wind you up so that you'll kick off. That's what they want. So don't kick off. No. People on the streets, I kind of get why that would need to be, but that's what they're after, so they can bring in new laws to make sure that they lock you up in your house. That's what all they're after. Yeah, we'll do. Evening, Dom Wigley. What did you miss? Everything, Dom. Everything. But welcome to the Body of the Kirk. So welcome, everyone. I'll get into it now. So last night we were talking about 9/11. And we'll talk about that because I've done a real deep dive into it. Everything. If you don't know about the 5 dancing Israelis, or you don't know about WTC-7, or you don't know about the plane that flew into the second tower, and CNN have footage of it with, well, something under the fuselage that, makes it, well, like a bomb. Terry Wookfit, next time it rains, put the plant out in the rain. It won't hurt it, it will clean it. Though, if not, wipe the leaves with 50-50 milk and water. Thank you, Terry. Boy, you've got some knowledge on you, Lord Wookfit. 400 in, none out. Case policy working well then. He's a liar. He's a proven liar. I mean, anybody can say he's a liar because there's so much corroborative information out there that in 1 year, I mean, how many times can that boy lie? So, you know, David Beckham, it's brand Beckham. They're worth hundreds of millions, but they're not billionaires like Nicola Peltz's father. So they had their wedding, Brooklyn and Nicola. They had their wedding at Mr. Peltz's ranch. He's home. He's a billionaire, multi-billionaire. Now, Brooklyn and Nicola seemingly have renewed their vows, but they didn't invite Mummy and Daddy Beckham. Oops. This is... Look, I'm a cynical old tart. Forgive me. I am just riven with cynicism. I read something in the newspapers after he gets his award from the World Economic Forum. Tony Blair's on the board. Wonder what's going on there then. So, Beckham goes to the World Economic Forum, and he's daft mate, he's other Manchester United shit player. He's there. He gets doorstepped by a journo. Here, what you doing here? You know, one of the brothers. Yeah, what you doing here? Well, I can't really say. We know why you're there, because you're Beckham's best mate, and you think that by going to Davos, you're gonna, rub shoulders with the elite. Don't be silly. So there's Lady Vicky. Yeah, posh. Takes it up the Swanee. Yeah, so, well, according to me book, where a chapter had to be taken out, oh, no, me bodyguard's book, a chapter had to be taken out. The court ordered it, because he said that she took it up the Marmite motorway, and I've told them she doesn't do that. She's a lady now, and I'm a sir, yeah, wrongin'. So, be respectful. So, Brooklyn and Nicola renewed their vows without Mummy and Daddy Beckham. And then Lady Vicky, she's pictured on board a yacht in the Med. Well, their yacht. It's only a little dinghy boat. It's only because, billionaires have massive boats. And, some ex-footballer and his missus that's been begging the royal family for a knighthood. I love me knighthood, me. I've done, Netflix documentaries about me beekeeping, and I got some gardener in, and she looks after me garden, and, well, I get all the praise for it, because they reckon I'm a fucking gardener. Uphill, mate. So, they've got a picture of Lady Vicky on board a little dinghy, compared to Mr. Peltz, the multi-billionaire, and she's reading a book called Revenge. Really? Well, from where I'm sitting, Brand Beckham, the PRs, the agencies, the people that are managing their image and everything that's in the press, spokesperson says, it's a cruel and spiteful snub. No, it's not. It's just your son. Decided you two fucking muppets are best on the other side of a very large sea, a very large ocean, and he's had enough of your shite. Andrew James, who leaked the info that Lady Victoria took it up the Swanee, up the Marmite motorway? It was in the book. It was the hired help who because it's been dealt with by a court, I can't really tell you the detail that I know, but it involved a jacuzzi, a bottle of wine, and a very quick trip to A&E in America. So David and Vicky believe that Brooklyn has quit the family. Good on him. Good on him. Because the only job that Mummy and Daddy had was just to give him the tools and the confidence to go out into life and do whatever he wants. Because he's not a little cuddly toy. No, he's not. He's Brooklyn. And now they're saying, oh, well, he may change his name to Peltz. Oh, had a way and shite, man. If you're trying to get this story to last and last and last, and I think there's some political will in that, Davos and World Economic Forum, and whichever politicians are in the pay and in the control of the World Economic Forum, they'll do as they're bloody told. But saying that he's quit the family and he's going to change his name to Peltz, I mean, these people are fucking morons. Scum-sucking pond life. It's not about them. The boy's married somebody that he loves dearly. He's found her. He's married her. He's off living his life, doing whatever he wants. If he wants to call himself anything, Brooklyn Savile, he can call himself anything he wants by deed poll. I'm sure it's the same in America as it is here. But and they wanted to renew their vows. It says a lot about Mummy and Daddy. And they've renewed their vows and not had any of the bloody Beckham family across there. Can you imagine? Oh, it's all about us. Yes, we'll have photographers there. We'll have lots and lots of photographs that we can sell to the newspapers, and we'll make an awful lot of money. We may be able to buy a bigger yacht. And somebody that told the current Bun and the other newspapers today, this was the final kick in the teeth for David and Skeletor. Really? My name's David. And his grandparents are devastated. Oh, Jesus, man. Grandparents have no place. Legally, they have no place in a child's life. And if a child gets to their 20s and decides to go off and live their life however they see fit, let them go. Let them go. This is just emotional manipulation writ large. So the newspapers will say, a friend says, no, that'll be the Beckham family. Somebody, they'll leak it, they'll tell somebody, go, say, tell him this, tell him that, well, he's quit the family so he can go, he can Foxtrot Oscar, as that bloke on YouTube says all the time. Foxtrot Oscar. It's emotional manipulation. It's Brand Beckham's PR saying what needs to be said. So I've read that today and I just thought, this is utter shite. Look, little Brooklyn, oh, well, he's not so little, but he won't care. He literally won't care. Lionel Layton, that's actually funny. Adrian, don't ever apply for a job as a ventriloquist. Naked. Cotler gear. Lionel, he was a ventriloquist on Radio 2 for years. Depends where I shove my hand. Adrian, I've had to put the cat outside. He goes bananas when you do your Beckham voice. Sorry, Neil. I do apologise. I'm not going to do it anymore. Just it's Beckham Watch. It's a daily watch on Brand Beckham in the newspapers. It's just shite. I want to talk about. We will get to 9/11 next because it's something that. Well, I've done a whole load of work for you today. Smash the likes on your way in, you Roland. I want to talk about British Transport Police because they're not really a police force, because there is a difference between the government paying for a police force and the train companies paying for a security force. And in my view, British Transport Police, it's a Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse woke a security force. So what's happening? Guy off his tits on the tube. And this guy decides that he's going to get his kit off. So there's women and children on the tube. And he gets naked on the tube. So this is with women and children in the carriage. So that's unacceptable. But what happens is British Transport Police attend and they arrest the guy for his own safety. So they arrest him under the Mental Health Act, which is for his safety and everybody else's safety. But he was harassing other passengers. He ended up naked, thereby intimidating female and children passengers, as I've said. So some of the lads just went, no, this is unacceptable. So other passengers got him off the service. I mean, I've seen the video, and that they did it with care, because obviously the guy was having an episode. So Mickey Mouse turns up, and Mickey Mouse goes, well, we'll arrest him for his own safety because he's having a mental health episode. He was detained under the Mental Health Act. The heroes that dealt with it, and I feel proportionately and appropriately, British Transport Police want to speak to them. They're facing arrest. For what? Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. That's why the police forces, they police by consent. Now, I have to call them a police force because that's what they reckon. They've got the word police, British Transport Police in their title. They're not the police at all, in my view. So they want to trace these heroes, and the heroes are going to face arrest. For what? Protecting women and children? Because the police don't do that. They're under orders from the wokerati at the top, the politicians who never get from behind their desk. It is shite. I don't know whether you've seen the video, but I think that's indicative of the state of this nation, this sceptred isle, the great British. It just shows us where we are with everything. That some guys try to protect women and children and then they're facing arrest. Oh, yeah. Captain Pugwash, I agree. They don't police by consent, but by boot. Martin, I'm not quite sure what that means. But I want to, so I wanted to talk about that. It's just, it's atypical of where we are with things. Atypical. So after last night's live, I took time to, well, I didn't have any choice in this heat. It was, I'll have a shower and lie on the bed. But, you know, when we talk about things that happen, events, black swan events. So I thought about Pearl Harbor, because that brought America into World War II. It also gave America the opportunity to bomb the shit out of the Japanese using nuclear bombs. So the phrase 9/11 is the new Pearl Harbor has been used by some commentators, politicians, and inevitably people will talk about conspiracy theories to draw parallels between the two events in terms of there being a black swan event, which they both were, 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. And there are parallels between the two events in terms of their impact on American history, national security, and foreign policy. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to do a breakdown of the comparison between Pearl Harbor, because they reckon the Americans knew about Pearl Harbor before the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and 9/11, which they reckon that the Americans knew about before 9/11. Ask Condoleezza Rice. So the similarities between Pearl Harbor and 9/11, and as we go through this subject, we will get deeper and deeper and deeper. So we'll get to the point where we can align the Saudi government and the rulers to what went on at 9/11, because the Saudis wanted the Americans to take Saddam Hussein out of Iraq. Oh, didn't you realize? So stay with me. I'm going to layer it and layer it and layer it and go deeper and deeper and deeper. So the similarities between 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, they're both surprise attacks. Both were sudden, devastating attacks on US soil that obviously shocked the nation. Pearl Harbor was in 1941. So it's, 59, 79, 84 years ago. If you're not aware of it, because you might not have been around for it, it was a surprise military strike by Japan on the US naval base in Hawaii. It killed nearly just over 2,400 Americans, and it brought America into World War II. 9/11, 2001, 60 years later. Some people are saying a coordinated terrorist attack by Al-Qaeda. Oh, I just want to ask you a question for a friend. Whatever happened to Al-Qaeda? 20 years ago, couldn't get moved for people talking about Al-Qaeda. Andrew James, we're going to get to the phrase "let it happen" in just a little while. I just want to layer things and give people knowledge, thereby understanding. So what happened to Al-Qaeda? I mean, they were everywhere. And then they allowed the Taliban to run Afghanistan. And Al-Qaeda disappeared. But 9/11, Pearl Harbor, 2,403 Americans killed. 9/11, 2,977 people and were killed, and leading to, in inverted commas, the war on terror. So what it did was it mobilized a national response, a full American response. Both events, Pearl Harbor and 9/11, triggered massive military and political reactions. As I say, are we going to align 9/11 with the Saudi government and the Saudi government wanting Saddam Hussein out of Iraq because they wanted to have the Kurdish oil fields in the north of Iraq under their control? So both events mobilized a national response. After Pearl Harbor, the United States entered World War II and underwent rapid militarization. The Americans say that they won World War II, but we were there at the beginning and we were there at the end. So I think we can take some credit, more than the Americans. After 9/11, the US launched wars in Afghanistan, 2001, Iraq, 2003, and they created the Department of Homeland Security and passed the Patriot Act. The cultural and psychological impact of both events, both Black Swan events, both became defining moments in American history, shaping national identity and security policies for decades. Can you not remember when George W. Bush had that bloke on the lectern saying, "Oh, he's wonderful. Yes, he's going to be the head of Homeland Security," and we've never heard from him or Homeland Security for an awfully long time. And the Patriot Act, oh, that'll be controlling the Americans then. So the differences between the two Black Swan events, the nature of the attack. Pearl Harbor was a military attack by a nation state, Japan. 9/11 was a terrorist attack by a non-state group, Al-Qaeda. Whatever happened to Al-Qaeda? Just asking for a friend. But the scale of destruction. Pearl Harbor was concentrated on a military target. A genuine military target. I mean, who would have thought the little Japanese would have gone, yeah, should we bomb Pearl Harbor? All right, lads, should we get some kamikaze trained then? Yeah. But 9/11, that moral indignation, they targeted civilians, the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and had global media coverage. Global. I mean, it was everywhere. But then again, it was 60 years later. So in 1941, did we have the communication tools at our disposal? Did we have everything that we have nowadays? Can you imagine a Pearl Harbor nowadays? Everybody get the phone out and start filming it. Oh, yeah. And then 9/11, we didn't even have... Did we have texts by then? I think they'd been around a couple of years, but not in the way that we have things now. So the response was that World War II had clear national enemies, sort of axis of powers. So the Americans took on the Japanese. Japanese were detaining the Brits, bridge over the River Kwai, the Brits and the Americans, and Japan, from my memory, had to give up all of its katanas, its samurai swords, the curved 36-inch blades. They had to give those samurai swords up. But that was World War II. There may be some folk in the... sounds dodgy again, what you done? I haven't done anything. Do you know, if the sound goes off, just refresh the page. If it's on your phone or your desktop, just refresh the page and the sound issues will go, I'm sure. So the war on terror was more nebulous, targeting extremist networks rather than a single country. So literally, they were just looking at all the Middle Eastern countries. Should we get to the controversy and the conspiracy theories? It's not controversy, it's controversy. Some critics, I mean, there was a book written by David Ray Griffin, The New Pearl Harbor. Some of the critics argued that 9/11 was allowed and even orchestrated to justify the wars in the Middle East, mainly Iraq and Afghanistan. But as I've said to you before, the Russians went into Afghanistan for nearly a decade in the 80s, and they couldn't defeat the camel shaggers. They couldn't. And just for clarity, shagging is the dance in America. Before anybody says anything, anybody can go and dance with camels. So 9/11, they say, some critics say, that it was allowed or even orchestrated to justify the wars in the Middle East. Similar to claims that FDR knew about Pearl Harbor in advance to enter World War II, because where there's war, there's money to be made. So these theories are widely debunked but persist in fringe circles. I am saying that to cover my arse. So a kind of conclusion, the similarities between Pearl Harbor and between 9/11. Whilst 9/11 has been called the new Pearl Harbor by authors and critics due to its transformative impact on America, the two events differ in very key ways. The comparison highlights how sudden traumatic attacks can reshape a nation's trajectory. The truth about 9/11 is officially documented by the US government and their investigations, primarily the 9/11 Commission report in 2004. But Many researchers and academics and activists have challenged aspects of the narrative. Thermite, anyone? Leading to ongoing debate. So I'm going to get into a deeper analysis of key claims, evidence, and controversies around 9/11. I just wanted to use that as maybe a black swan comparison between Pearl Harbor, it has its similarities, to 9/11, but 9/11 had a much greater impact, even though America went into World War II. So the official narrative of 9/11 and the 9/11 Commission report. The US government's account states Al-Qaeda were responsible. That's why I'm asking what's happened to Al-Qaeda. The attacks were planned by Osama bin Laden. Right. And carried out by 19 hijackers. And I'm just giving you this detail so that when I start getting into deeper territory and deeper waters, you kind of remember this. So there was 19 hijackers. 15 were Saudis. Remember what I've just said about the Saudi government. 2 Emiratis, 1 Egyptian, and 1 Lebanese. I will tell you the how. That's the who. I will tell you the how, but I'll also tell you this. One of the hijackers rang his dad and said, Dad, they reckon I flew one of those planes into the Twin Towers. I'm in Egypt. I couldn't do that. Well, I can't now because they've stopped everybody from flying. So, no, it wasn't me. And that was reported in the Sun. That is in a newspaper that I've got in my archive. And that was reported in the Sun, that one of the hijackers was actually in Egypt and rang his dad, and his dad told the media because he was getting the blame for it. So we've got the who, the what is hijacked planes. Now, if I can remember the book, oh man, Adrian, I was going to dig it out earlier as well. It'll come back to me if I don't think about it. But there was a book that was written in the 90s that will be in the American National Archive. Storming Heaven. The book was called Storming Heaven. You can still buy it. I mean, it's difficult to get hold of, but you can still buy it. Storming Heaven was a blueprint for 9/11, and it was I think it was published maybe 5 or 6 years before 9/11 happened. So they used hijacked planes as bombs, in essence. 4 commercial airliners were hijacked. 2 struck the World Trade Center, WTC for reference. 1 hit the Pentagon, and 1, Flight 93, crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers resisted. Now, as I'm going through the layers, you have to understand that I'm playing ball with the official narratives. And then when we get into the real meat of the subject, I'm going to debunk all this bollocks. Sorry. So we've got the who, 19 hijackers. We've got the what, the hijacked planes. And then the oh my God moments, the Godzilla moments. So the collapses, the WTC towers, 1 and 2, collapsed because of fire and structural damage from the plane's impacts. WTC 7, World Trade Center 7, not hit by a plane, collapsed later because of fires. Wasn't even on fire. Now, the American government and the American people started screaming about intelligence failures. The CIA and the FBI had warnings, but failed to connect the dots due to, they euphemistically call them bureaucratic inefficiencies. Or let it be, let it happen. Now, there are very obvious criticisms of the official story. There are tons of unanswered questions about intelligence failures. I think the word intelligence and America are a bit of an oxymoron. I don't think they go together in the same sentence. But the intelligence agencies ignored warnings from foreign agencies. There was 28 redacted pages of the congressional inquiry, later declassified in 2016. So they 15 years, they had 28 redacted pages. Why suddenly in 2016? Oh, Wasn't that when Donald Trump came to power? So the redacted pages suggested that there was a possible Saudi government tie, but no direct link was confirmed for the moment. So the 9/11 Commission itself admitted it was set up to fail due to limited access to key documents. So obviously the FBI and others when did you say the oh right, let's have a no, can't find that in the files. Which document were you after? No, can't find that. No. So let's get into the major controversies and alternative theories, stuff that you and I will know as fact. So some people say it was a controlled demolition of the WTC towers, as in towers 1 and 2. But what happened to WTC 7? It was pulled, by the way. I'll give you the evidence in just a little while. So the claim that the collapses resembled controlled demolitions, as in free fall speed, symmetrical collapse, molten metal, explosions heard. Now let me give you the evidence for this theory, and this is what I've uncovered. There was a 2005 to 2008 NIST's report concluded that fires weaken steel, but skeptics argue fires don't melt steel. Jet fuel burns at about 100 degrees C. Steel melts at 1500 degrees C. But to get it to a molten state, for the towers to completely collapse into their own footprint, needs steel to be molten and collapse at 1500 degrees C. Now we kind of touched on that last night in the live. Rich says, the cost of removing that asbestos was huge and had to be done by the owner. Rich, we're going to talk about that. There's WTC7's collapse. It fell in 6.5 seconds despite no plane hitting it. So have you never asked yourself the question, how the bloody hell did WTC7 collapse in 6.5 seconds? Like free fall into its own footprint. It was like a demolition. And the people investigating it blamed office fires. Must have had a shit ton of paper in those offices. But we're also talking about the molten metal. Now, witnesses reported molten steel in the rubble for weeks afterwards, suggesting thermite. And if you're wondering what thermite is, it's a high temperature explosive compound. Now, the rebuttal of that, because obviously this report between 2005 and 2008, they're going to go, no. These bloody conspiracy theorists, what do they know about 9/11? We know everything about 9/11 because we do our own research and we can have freedom to do that. But the rebuttal from the people who benefited from this, well, engineers argue structural failure, not demolition. Right. Structural failure explains the collapses. Jesus, how much were they paid to say that? Molten metal could be from aluminium planes or electrical systems. Right. Let's talk about the Pentagon attack, as we did last night, very briefly. So the claim, the official story rather, Flight 77 hit the Pentagon. It's disputed due to the lack of plane wreckage and limited damage. Except it was in the offices where that nearly $3 trillion of military money disappeared. Hit the very offices that had all the evidence in their filing system. And, well, it didn't afterwards. And yet there was no evidence of plane wreckage. Now, if you want evidence, you can have the 5 frames of Pentagon security footage. It was released showing a blurry object. As I've just said, there was no clear plane debris. Engines, wings, seats, people. They weren't visible in early photos. And the hole in the Pentagon was too small for a Boeing 757 because that's what they reckon crashed into the Pentagon. 757, it was a bloody missile. So people are saying, well, the officials say the plane disintegrated upon impact. Are they laughing at us or with us? So the officials say the plane disintegrated on impact. Witnesses reported seeing a plane. Oh, was that FBI staff then? Or was that staff from the petrol station from across the road? So should we get into... Les Griffiths says, let me just add a couple of comments. Captain Pugwash says, thermite is a mixture of how did aluminium and iron? Not quite sure. You need magnesium to ignite it. Of course, Captain Pugwash. Rich says, it was also the very building that was supposed to direct a terrorist attack response in the city. And Les says, those towers had a new design. The girders were on the outer walls rather than the internal ones, which made them stronger. And they reckon a 757 could hit those towers, WTC 1 and 2, and not bring them down. Miranda Sky says, I saw a great mini documentary years ago telling the real story of it all. Unfortunately, that video is long gone these days, or they'll have sanitized the whole thing. But let's get into some context and insight. Should we talk about insider trading and foreknowledge? So some people claim that there were some unusual stock trades, put options, if you want, on airlines and WTC related companies. That in itself suggests insider knowledge. And the evidence for that, the SEC, who've just been kicking off about Ripple, the securities something, I can't remember what SEC stands for now. The SEC, identified suspicious trades, but concluded, it's a coincidence. And the 9/11 Commission dismissed the issue without any deep investigation. Well, they don't, because, at that level, the elite, they don't like talking about money and making money because it's just grabby. No. We don't talk about that. But there are some people that have suggested that some of the trades were linked to legitimate hedging strategies. Right. So were they shorting the airlines? I think some people did. Wow. Andrew James says, thank you, the Bovril, Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. Andrew James says to Les, BitChute had some superb documentaries about 9/11. BitChute is closed for the UK residents. I'm sure they are, VPN. So, should we talk about the NORAD stand down? Now, I'm not sure whether you're aware of this, because it was kind of, I remember on the day, is this real time or is this exercise? They were the controllers. Now, there is a claim that the US Air Defense, NORAD, failed to intercept the hijacked planes due to stand down orders. The evidence for that? Normally, NORAD scrambles jets within minutes, but on 9/11, response was delayed. Military drills that morning. Is this real life or is this exercise? They were having a military drill that morning. It was called Vigilant Guardian. That's what they allegedly say caused the confusion. But the 9/11 Commission blamed communication failures, not a deliberate stand down. Shall we talk about... So just remember Vigilant Guardian. The controllers, and there used to be recordings online of it. Is this real life or is this exercise? Thank you, Paul Molten, Captain Pugwash. Can't say oxide. Okay. Michael Collett. The planes apparently took a last-second turn into each tower, a fighter pilot maneuver. Engineers design out what's called disproportionate collapse to allow for something big flying into them. I know the designs, and they were kind of designed in the 60s, early 70s. But Michael, I was on air at Real Radio, and a pilot rang into my phone in and said, at the last minute, The planes that were just going directly into the tower did that into the tower. Let me do that. So they were going to go straight into the tower and then did that into the tower last second, and the pilot said that's a jet fighter pilot move. Now there is some theories that there were jet fighter pilots flying, and I'm trying to, while I say this, I'm trying to remember the technical term for it, but they reckoned that the fighter pilots were in some military airbase somewhere and flying these planes remotely because there was nobody on board. We will try and get to whatever happened to the passengers or the souls on board. Let's have a look at the American government and the media response. So the government, American government, decided to install the Patriot Act in 2001. But all it did was expand surveillance powers for the government, not to benefit the people, obviously. America and the world also had Iraq War in 2003. Remember, Tony Blair, clear and present danger, 45 minutes. Saddam Hussein has got weapons of mass destruction. And we went into Iraq under Tony Blair. And it was justified partially by false links between Saddam Hussein and 9/11. Saddam Hussein did it. The Saudis say he did it. The Saudis want the oil fields in the north of Iraq, the Kurdish oil fields in the north of Iraq. So it was Saddam Hussein. And then Tony Blair stood up in the mother of all parliaments and said, well, it was Saddam Hussein, 45-minute clear and present danger. He's got weapons of mass destruction. And then Dr. David Kelly committed suicide. He'd been into Iraq and reported that they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. None. Zero. Zilch. Nix. Nada. Nout. Neil Cunningham, thank you for that. That's very clever. It's called banking right, a tactic used to avoid mid-air collisions. Remote control, Adrian. YouTube just censored my info on that. Oh, really, Les? Use code. The guy who made it was traced to Ireland and is a nutcase. Get out, defendant Blair was so far up Bush's pipe, it was embarrassing. I know. I remember when he was like, "Hey, look, we got Tony Blair here. Yes, welcome. Are you coming to my ranch, you wrong'un?" Bad Wolf Project, just to remind those running Windows computers, it's the second Tuesday of the month, which means it's Windows Update Day, which means when you reboot your machine next, you'll go, oh man, don't upset me, Bad Wolf Project. I want to know how to make sure that update doesn't happen to my computer. Not that I'm pointing fingers at anybody. And Dale Steele, Adrian, I've been thinking about what you said about them downing a plane. I remember watching it at the time, and there was another plane that the military was intercepting. It was never mentioned again. There was 5 planes. There were 5 planes. The 4th and the 5th were downed. 5th plane you're not going to hear of again. But let's get back on track. We mentioned the Iraq War in 2003, and academics like Steve Jones and David Ray Griffin were marginalised for questioning the official story. Remember, when we do anything, and as adults, we use our intellect and we question what we're being given. And yet when we question what we're being given, we're being told you're a threat to the nation. So you can't say that. So even academics were marginalised for questioning the official story. So what's the truth? The mainstream view? The official account, while flawed, remains the most substantiated explanation. Don't worry, I haven't stopped yet. The alternative view, maybe yours and mine. Significant anomalies suggest possible foreknowledge, cover-ups, or even orchestration by elements within the US government. False flag theory. But there are some people on the middle ground who are saying, well, the truth may involve gross negligence, hidden Saudi foreign involvement and exploitation of the event for geopolitical goals. Right, but not necessarily a full inside job. That's a bit like saying you're only a little bit pregnant. So I decided to go and do more research. So layer it. I've started with 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. to kind of give us a legitimacy to start digging deeper. As I say, a dear friend of mine says that they saw a video clip on a DVD where the second plane that went into the was it whichever tower it went into, it had under the fuselage, it had like piping, so the plane itself just looked like a bomb. And that's what Storming Heaven, it's available on Amazon. That's what Storming Heaven was all about. Terrorists using aircraft to attack America. So let's look at the World Trade Center collapses, because that's what we've seen with our own eyes. We've got newspapers, the reportage of the time. I mean, it was shocking, as was Pearl Harbor. The EU Bovril. Here's a real simple question. The EU Bovril says, where are the funerals held for those supposed to be in those planes? There wasn't anybody in those planes. I know what you're saying, the EU Bovril, because the American government didn't actually say where they were buried. And they should have done. Dignity for the deceased. I have Storming Heaven downloaded on Audible, but never got round to listening to it. Give it a listen, Stuart. It'll make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Now, the World Trade Center, WTC, collapses. We've seen that. And we've seen the debris and the island and how it looked after the attack. So WTC Towers 1 and 2, they collapsed in free fall and symmetry. Now, free fall speed and symmetry, that's not going to happen if it's a couple of camel shaggers just learning how to fly planes on computers, or jet fighter pilots remotely controlling those planes. Now, the official claim is, and I repeat, fires weaken steel trusses causing progressive collapse. So you want to know the controlled demolition arguments, don't you? Well, this free fall acceleration, the towers collapsed in under 9 seconds. Do you know how many floors? There was hundreds of floors in each of those towers. The towers collapsed in under 9 seconds. That's WTC 1. And under 11 seconds, WTC 2. Now that's close to free fall speed, suggesting no structural resistance, which would slow the speed of the collapse. A symmetrical collapse. Buildings don't fall straight down from random fires. They don't. They don't. They don't. They tilt. Bit like Bill Clinton's cock, according to Monica. So a near perfect vertical collapse resembles implosions. I think somebody mentioned that in the chat. A little bit earlier. Joe S says, Joe, welcome to the body of the Kirk. All the first timers, I always pop the cherry. Before we went to war, Adrian, a Labour MP that I knew very, very well told me we're definitely going to war. Forget about weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, they're just an excuse. And Joe says that MP lost their seat at the next election, but told me they were bloody glad to be out of it. Oh, it's just full of evil. HOC, House of Commons. Loose Change. Oh, I remember that. Loose Change is also a good video to watch. Is it still up? I think they did a few different versions of it, didn't they, Sam? And Andrew James says the explosions were in a zigzag pattern. Terry Wookfit says to Michael Collett, why would a remote pilot do it, though? What was the purpose of the jink? Well, do you want to fly a plane into a tower and kill yourself? I mean, how many pilots would you... Can you... look, mate, can you do us a favour? I need a 757 flying into, you know, the World Trade Center. I need a 757 flying into that. Are you free on Tuesday morning about 9 a.m.? Ghetto defendant, problem, reaction, solution. I know, David Icke got it nailed. So we know the symmetrical collapse, that the towers would kind of keel over and might not reach all the way down, because they were saying, it was being reported by the news agencies, that there was so much molten metal down in the tube station under WTCs 1 and 2 that nobody could get in there because of what was down underneath in the tube stations. Now, some people have said when the towers came down, and this was in their excuse for thermite, is that the air was hot. And you've also got to remember that there was a shit ton of concrete in those towers, and there was the pulverization of concrete. Now, most of the towers, 1 and 2, turned to fine dust mid-air, which is unusual for a gravity-driven collapse, because they were talking about, some people have said as they were running away from the towers, they could feel molten metal on their backs, which would have been brought about by thermite. Shall we talk about the smoking gun? And what I'm attempting to do with this tonight is I'm trying to kind of get through a deeper dive, but I'm going at pace so that we don't literally take 4 or 5 hours. So the smoking gun, what do you think that would be? Be WTC7. Now, the official claim in 2008 was that, well, fires caused a thermal expansion. Didn't say that, did we? Leading to a global collapse in free fall into its own footprint. Now, counter arguments to that, because that was the official in 2008. It took them 7 years. Legal profession, barristers or whatever they use in America, everybody gets paid if they're working on it. An inquiry, everybody gets paid on it. 9/11 Commission, everybody gets paid. Now, we could say that WTC7 was not categorically hit by a plane, and yet collapses in 6.5 seconds symmetrically. Can you remember, was it Jesse, the former wrestler? I saw during my research today, Jesse What's-His-Face, he was being interviewed by Piers Morgan. And this is the video that I watched. And Piers Morgan was like, no, Jesse, man, what are you talking about? And he said, look, I've seen it with my own eyes. It's on video. The BBC reported WTC7's collapse 20 minutes earlier. Ventura, thank you, Burlington Bertie. Jesse Ventura, thank you, Andrew James and everyone. So Jesse Ventura is in a live interview with Piers Morgan talking about stuff. And he said, look, I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. WTC7 collapsed 6.5 seconds symmetrically, and it was reported by a BBC journalist with WTC7 standing behind her 20 minutes earlier, whilst the building was still standing. And what did Piers Morgan do? Shit himself. We're going to a break. And Jesse Ventura was like, oh, here, Piers, man. So at that point, Jesse Ventura knew that it was a setup. Piers Morgan was like, no, I'm not going to broadcast that. How do we on shite, man? I'm not broadcasting that. No, don't be silly. Ads. So you know that Piers Morgan has been bought off. Not sure by whom, but he's been bought off because he doesn't want the truth going out on his chat show. Now, the guy who owned the towers, he was called Lucky Larry Silverstein. He said on, he was the WTC leaseholder. So it was a nest of buildings at varying heights. It was a nest of buildings, 1 and 2, 7. I think they went up to maybe 9 buildings. Ray Norton autopilot would have to be disabled. They used a completely, and I used to know what this remote flying system was called. It's not fly-by-wire. It's not that. It is military grade. And I'll go through my papers and my archive. It might take me a little while, but I have that information. The fighter pilots were in a military base, and they were flying remotely, these planes. And it was military grade. Whatever they were using, whatever systems they were using, it was not available for general use with planes. So lucky Larry Silverstein, he was the WTC leaseholder, 1 and 2 and 7, and he said on public broadcasting, PBS in America, they made the decision to pull it, and we watched the building collapse. Now, pull it is a demolition term. But lucky Larry made so much money from this. It was only worth, I think we'll get to this fact a little later. It was worth about 2.8 billion. The towers, the whole nest of buildings, was worth about 2.8 billion, and he got about 8 billion in cash return from insurance. So pull it, as in pull it, two separate words, is demolition industry jargon for a controlled demolition. Now, the thing that we talked about last night on the live was around the molten metal and thermite residue. So witnesses, that would have included the firefighters, the engineers, some of the people that were actually there on 9/11, and the people that were in the towers that they got out, and people running around away from the towers and the collapse. They all reported molten steel in the rubble for weeks afterwards. Weeks. Now, the firefighters were the people that we needed to get the witness statements from, because they were saying molten steel was in the rubble. They had to go into the rubble. They had to start clearing the rubble. They had to get down into the tube station under the two towers. They had to get into there, and they knew all about molten steel. Now, the temperatures, I'll reiterate, it requires temperatures up to 1500 Celsius, but jet fuel burns at 800 Celsius. Now, there were some scientific studies done, one by Dr. Stephen Jones, a BYU physicist. He found nanothermite, the high-tech explosive, in WTC dust samples. So, not that I'm a cynical old tart, you understand, but why would there be thermite or nanothermite, a high-tech explosive, in the rubble of WTC 1 and 2 and 7? So there was a peer-reviewed paper in 2009 that looked at active thermite material discovered in dust from the 9/11 World Trade Center catastrophe. Now, NIST's response was, we'll just ignore the thermite. No, don't be silly. And we'll just stick to the fire-induced collapse theory. And yet, there's clear and present evidence that thermite was used, because they found thermite in the rubble of WTC 1, 2 and 7. So we'll leave that to one side for the moment. Lucky Larry will make a reappearance soon. But let's talk about the Pentagon attack. And last night we talked about this. I did say... I've just... before I get into the next part of what I'm talking about, Les Griffiths has just said, Terry, the bridge that was hit by the cargo ship had to be condemned. Wow. Rich says, I gave a piece of that molten steel. It looks weird. I was given a piece of that molten steel. It looks weird. A worker leaving the site gave it to me when I was standing by the fire station nearby. Wow. Thank you, Rich. And Les says the Baltimore Bridge, it was condemned. I wonder why that was then. They did say that the onboard computer, they lost control of it, and it was steering itself. Burlington Bertie says thermite can be used for welding and metal refining. Interesting. So let's leave WTC and the nests of buildings, the 1 and 2 and 7 and all the rest. We'll leave that to one side for the moment. We will get back to it because we need to look at varying other things. But I want to talk about the Pentagon attack. We've mentioned it earlier. No plane debris, lack of plane debris. Was it really Flight 77? As I've told you, there were, in my view, jet fighter pilots remotely flying these planes. Now, the official claim, again, American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757, hit the Pentagon. There was no large debris, no visible wings, tail, or engines in the initial photographs from the scene. The entry hole, comedy opening, was too small. The less than 16-foot hole doesn't match a 125-foot wide Boeing 757. Now, there was limited security footage. You would think that the Pentagon, there would be CCTV. We've seen Men in Black. We've seen the films. They've got, it goes right underground. It's not just a little bit on the top. It goes right underground, and they would have CCTV everywhere, including the petrol station from across the road that the FBI immediately went and got the footage from, and that disappeared. So the limited security footage they released, there was only 5 frames released. It was all blurry and didn't really show us anything. That's because it was a missile. I think it's generally accepted now that the Pentagon was taken out by a missile. Ray Norton, great question. Did they find the black boxes to analyse? No. And there were witness testimony conflicts. So some witnesses said, well, I saw a small plane or missile, not a commercial jet. A citizen investigation for Pilots for 9/11 Truth said they argued that the flight path was impossible for an untrained hijacker. Correct. So it had to come down from a height, come down and literally stay feet, was it 20 feet above the ground to actually hit the Pentagon? Tomahawk missile would take the Pentagon out in an instant. So Ray Norton's just asked the question that I was about to ask. So the missing black box. So the official story says the black box was recovered, but heavily damaged. So the FBI initially said no black box was found. Maybe they should have talked to Rachel from accounts, because her black box, seemingly, it's massive. But the FBI initially said, oh, no black box was found. And then later reversed the claim to it was recovered, but it was heavily damaged. So I mentioned foreknowledge and insider trading, but didn't really do any major dive. So let me give you some details. They're called put, P-U-T, put options on airlines and WTC-related stocks. United and American Airlines, there was massive put options, bets that the stocks would fall, placed literally days and hours on the Friday before 9/11. Morgan Stanley, WTC's largest tenant, there was some unusual trading spikes. But the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, found no direct link to terrorists. Can you imagine the irony? The Americans wouldn't get it. What we're calling terrorists? Are we talking the traders terrorists? Are we calling camel shaggers terrorists? Or Afghanistanis terrorists? Who are we calling terrorists? But the SEC said some trades were never traced. Let's get to Vigilant Guardian, the military drill that was going on that morning. NORAD was running a simulated hijacking drill. Remember what I've just said to you? NORAD was running a simulated hijacking drill, causing confusion between real or fake hijackings. Is this real world or is this exercise? The Federal Aviation Authority delays. Controllers reported slow response times from NORAD. Of course they did, because they wanted to bring the towers down. Shall we ask another polite question? Terry Wookfit says the FBI reports that the flight data recorder survived and had recoverable information, but the voice recorder was allegedly too damaged to provide any record. Fred Dibner was found in a pub drinking a pint of Green All's bitter, says Ray. So we know that the intelligence agencies had warnings. So on August the 6th, over a month before 9/11, in 2001, there was a presidential briefing. So the briefing was Bin Laden, as in Osama, you know, the one that needed kidney dialysis on his machine in the Tora Bora mountain range, and his nest of caves that was created by the CIA for him. They said that Bin Laden is determined to strike in the US. There were foreign intelligence warnings. Russia, Israel, and Germany warned of an impending attack. Now, if Israel knew, that's why some of the Jews never went to work that day. Russia, Israel, and Germany all knew and all warned America of an impending attack. So let's just kind of wrap things up nicely in a bow to where we are now, and then we'll go deeper into stuff. So what conclusion? What does the evidence suggest so far? Well, the WTC buildings collapses, the speed, the symmetry, the molten metal, WTC-7 collapse strongly suggests controlled demolition, the Pentagon attack, the lack of plane debris, and conflicting witness accounts that included it was a missile, and the foreknowledge, insider trading, and ignored warnings imply that at least some officials knew in the days leading up to 9/11. So, scenarios. We're going to now take a... Let me take some of your comments before we go deeper into this. Ray Norton says the radio towers would have recording of conversations between pilot and control. Yes, they would. I don't think they released those, if they were. But then again, you know, if a pilot was doing it via remote control, wow. If it was remote pilots, they would still have the ability to talk to the control tower. So, possible scenarios as we go deeper into this. And I've got 70 pages worth of research. Thank you, Darren. Thank you for support of the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So the possible scenarios. Let's just, shall we park our cynicism to one side and let's just see what the scenarios could be. Well, one, you'll get the official story from the American government. Correct, but incomplete. Al-Qaeda did it, but US incompetence allowed it. You know, when Osama bin Laden, they said, you did it. He said, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't us, it wasn't Al-Qaeda. But, you know, I'll back anybody that did this. This is a fantastic day for our brothers, and it's a fantastic day. He said he didn't do it. As I was saying a little earlier, let it happen. L-I-H-O-P. Let it happen. Intelligence agencies knew but didn't do anything to justify the wars, whether it was Afghanistan or whether it was Iraq. Des Ashton, no aircraft involved. I see you. Wasn't Fergie there? Lauren Taylor says, but why, oh why, are we killing our own people? To justify the wars? To justify... So, as I've said, and I said last night, that within 3 days of 9/11, the military got an extra $48 billion in funding. And then within a week of 9/11, Vladimir Putin was over to George Bush's ranch in Texas and was agreeing a Russian-American pipeline out of the Caspian Sea. And if you look at the world map, and I know it's unfair because it's literally burned under my retina, but if you look at a world map and you look where the Caspian Sea is, you'll see that Afghanistan is on the shores of the Caspian Sea. And what the Russians had wanted to do in the 80s is they wanted to get the oil and the gas out of the Caspian Sea. And in 2001, it had been estimated that there was gas and oil that would power current consumption levels, as in 2001 consumption levels. There was 300 years worth of gas and oil under the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea alone would provide the world with gas and oil for 300 years. Current world consumption levels, 300 years. So that's why the Russians went in there, because they already knew about that. Thank you, Stuart. It's been an education, Rev. Thank you as always. We've got loads more to do, Stuart. Loads more. And if I don't get to finish it all tonight, I will continue it tomorrow night, because this is important. It's important geopolitically that everybody gets the knowledge, thereby the understanding of what is going on in the world, and it applies to 2025, because we've still got the Black Swan event in 2025 to come. Will it be the aliens in December? 3-Eye Atlas? Who knows? Let's wait. So the possible scenarios: official story 1, or let it happen 2, or 3, made it happen. Elements within the US orchestrated it as a false flag event. So I would suggest that the attacks led to a major geopolitical, economic and military shift that aligned with the interests of certain very powerful groups. So here's a breakdown of the key beneficiaries. 1, you know where I'm going to go with this: the military-industrial complex and the defence contractors. So massive war spending. The war on terror led to $6 trillion spent on wars in Afghanistan, Iraq and beyond. I'll give you that information again. The war spending, the war on terror, $6 trillion plus dollars. They were spent on Afghanistan to get the pipeline out of the Caspian Sea down to, I think it's Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, to a warm water port in Pakistan. So the Americans and the Russians are still piping the gas and oil out of the Caspian Sea, but nobody talks about it because they're all getting rich. And $6 trillion spent on the wars to build a pipeline from the Caspian Sea, Afghanistan, and then down and the war in Iraq. What was the first thing the Americans did when they went into Iraq? What was the first thing they did? Did they grab hold of Saddam Hussein? No. Did they stop the battling between the Sunni and the Shiites? No. So what did America do? First day, landed in Iraq, start bombing the shit out of them, get the B-52s going over the top. Oh, did they go into Baghdad? No. What did the Americans do? First thing that they did in Iraq when they went in, they went straight up north and secured the Kurdish oil fields. Oh, I wonder why that is. And I'm being facetious. So there was a surge in defence contracts. So companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing and Halliburton saw record profits. Oh, who's Halliburton, Adrian? Dick Cheney's company. Dick Cheney, vice president at 9/11. So you've got Halliburton, Dick Cheney's company, and America went to war spending $6 trillion of American taxpayers' money, and Halliburton had record profits. I mean, my hairy backside, man. And Halliburton, Dick Cheney's company, won no bid contracts for Iraq reconstruction. So not only did they go in and secure the Kurdish oil fields in the north of Iraq under the supervision of the Saudis, the Saudi governments and elite, but it was the reconstruction of Iraq that was going to make them a lot of money. Regime change, the money's made, not in bombing the shit out of a country, but rebuilding it. So look at Syria. The Americans will be in Syria, Halliburton included. The Americans will be in Syria rebuilding it. They're going to rebuild Gaza, seemingly. That's what they're after. No bid contracts, which means they'll say, for argument's sake, yeah, well, it's going to cost about $1 trillion to rebuild that in Baghdad and Iraq. And right, okay, right. If that's how much it's going to cost, then there's $1 trillion. Oh, Halliburton, part of the Spice Girls. King Treble 7, yeah, utter wrong. So the Raytheon's missile sales, pun intended, skyrocketed after 9/11. So you've got, there's just two examples. Halliburton for the rebuild, Raytheon for the missiles. You've got Lockheed Martin and Boeing, defense contractors. But after 9/11, America certainly, and this country, and that's why I talked about Echelon last night. Have you done your research yet? America became an intelligence and surveillance state. So the Patriot Act in 2001 expanded NSA spying, FBI surveillance, and Department of Homeland Security powers. So the prison program, which was exposed by Edward Norton, remember him? There was mass data collection. So 9/11 brought in the Department of Homeland Security's powers, and what they did was the prison program exposed by Snowden began just post 9/11. They were scraping everybody's data, watching what you were doing, how you were doing it. Oh, you think this is just happening now with a digital ID? There was a private security boom. Companies like Blackwater, now Academy, thrived on government contracts. I made a shit ton of money, technical term. Now, back in the day, we had neocons, we had the doves, we had the hawks. Are you aware of the project for the new American century? PNAC, if you wish. It was a 1990s neocon think tank, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, that called for a new Pearl Harbor. Now can you see why I aligned Pearl Harbor and 9/11 at the very beginning of tonight's live? So the project for the new American century, neoconservatism, and the PNAC agenda. Project for the new American century. I'm repeating it so that you get it. So it's not like, I'll have to rewind that, I'll have to do that tomorrow. Project for the new American century. It's important that you know this. Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, via the Project for the New American Century, called for a new Pearl Harbor just to justify regime change in the Middle East. So if you got Cheney calling for regime change so that his company, Halliburton, can go into Afghanistan and Syria and Baghdad and Iraq and rebuild it and make trillions of dollars. There was a report done in the year 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses is what it was called. And it said that the process of transformation is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor. So you know where we're going to go next? Let's go to big oil and the Middle East control. Because they think that's where all the oil is. It's not. It's everywhere. And it's a renewable. This is not a fossil fuel. That was not the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. Rockefellers called it fossil fuel because it had to seem like it was finite to make it. Because if it was like water, if we've got water all over the globe, 70% of the world is covered in water, albeit salty stuff. Would people be able to make money from oil if it was freely available? It's renewable. We haven't run out yet. It just keeps popping up, so to speak. So in 2003, the Iraq war was sold on false WMD, weapons of mass destruction claims, but secured oil interests. So Blair, Charles Linton, Bow Street Magistrates, Google it, and George W. Bush, who's an old boy now. He's not long for this mortal coil. Des Ashton, would it spoil some great eternal plan if I were a wealthy man? If I were a rich man. Pop off. Yeah, not pop off. Top all. But he did pop off. He's not around anymore. So let's look at big oil in the Middle East. Conspiracy. So the Iraq war, WMDs, Tony Blair lying, 45 minutes, clear and present danger, George Bush loving Tony Blair because Blair was doing all the work for George W. So that George W. could make a shit ton of money. And he did. So the Iraq war sold on false WMD claims, but secured the oil interests. Pipeline politics, if you will. Afghanistan was key for Central Asian oil and gas pipelines. Unocal deal discussions pre 9/11. Unocal deal secured at George W. Bush's ranch with Putin post 9/11. And I've said to you, the pipeline politics in the Black Sea, which is, Ukraine and Russia. Russia needs Crimea. And the Americans initially wanted to drill for gas and oil in the Black Sea and then run a pipeline from the Black Sea through parts of Europe to Germany to power Germany's economy. And I've already told you this story before. And if you're a first to the Theatre of the Mind live tonight, please go and tell everybody, because all we do here is just tell the truth. I don't give a flying about anything else, just the truth, so you have some semblance of understanding around what has been going on over the last 40 years. Like I say, I've been tackling the New World Order since 1989, and I'm still here doing it. So the pipeline politics is the Black Sea. And Slobodan Milosevic, otherwise known as Slobodan Milosevic in my house, the Americans went to see him and said, Slobodan, we need to build a pipeline from the Black Sea all the way through Central Europe, across the top of Yugoslavia, all the way through Central Europe, and it's going to get to Germany and power the German economy. And Slobodan went, do you understand Yugoslavian? And the Americans went, try me. And Slobodan went, Foxtrot Oscar, I run Yugoslavia, I'm in charge here, I'm the president, so I suggest you take your briefcase, shove it up your arse, and disappear, mate, because I'm in charge here. And the Americans went, Slobodan, we're sorry to hear that. We were hoping that we were going to have a lovely relationship and make each other very, very wealthy with all the oil and gas that's coming out of the Black Sea. But obviously now we're just going to have to take care of business. Oh my word, Slobodan's then arrested and put in jail. And fan my brow, dies of a heart attack in jail. Well, we didn't see that one coming, did we? No. I'm lying. So pipeline politics over the last 20 odd years, last 30 years, 40 years then, since the 80s when Russia went into Afghanistan to try and get into the Black Sea to extract all the oil. And now they've just battled away with Ukraine because they wanted Crimea. They don't want anything else. Oh, it's all shite, man. Sniffy can have all of his Coca-Cola. We just want all the gas and oil out of the Black Sea. We're going to take it all. That's why we've got our shipping fleet in the Black Sea. And that's why Putin's meeting with Trump, not Sniffy be off his tits somewhere, probably in a hotel in Eilat. Oh, I say, where are we? Where are we? Who am I? And people are talking about the Saudi connections. So despite 15 of the hijackers, as I mentioned right at the beginning of this live, being Saudi, America never held Saudi Arabia accountable at all. I mean, there was 28 redacted pages of the 9/11 inquiry that didn't come out until 2016. But all of those will literally pale into insignificance unless you look at the financial and the corporate elite, the real people that are running the world. Remember, Klaus Schwab wrote a book about it, stakeholder capitalism. That's what it's all about. Governments don't run the world anymore. Companies do. Stakeholder capitalism. That's why the financial and the corporate elite were sitting there bursting their incontinence pants. I nearly swore quite a few times. So there was kind of bailouts and privatization of various companies. So post 9/11, the economic policies favoured Wall Street. Can you not remember when the Nasdaq and the Dow and our God, I can't even think of it. I'm getting tired now. So all of the public trading, it went through the floor, and some experts. I saw one being interviewed, and the interviewer was saying, "Oh, should we get rid of our shares? Should we get rid of our shares?" And the guy said, "Are you stupid? Why would you get rid of your shares?" Well, the FTSE, thank you, Bagwood Project. I am struggling tonight now. The FTSE is halved. It's gone down from 6,000 and odd. It's down to just over 3,000. So surely just get rid of everything. And the guy said, if I was you, I'd start buying. because this is going to bounce up. It's now 8,000 and odd. So if you bought a 911, however much money you made, you would have doubled your money in 20 years, 24 years. So the rebuilding contracts in Afghanistan and Iraq and others, companies like Beckham and Fluor made billions and billions and billions, and Halliburton made billions in rebuilding Iraq and Afghanistan. Oh, and let's not forget the insider trading. So, company, Goldman Sachs, and the insider trading. Who's Goldman Sachs? It's who rich boy Sunak's gone to work for after being Prime Minister of this country. So, Goldman Sachs have hired him. Quite why? I've no idea. His missus and her family are worth billions. Why would he want to go and work for Goldman Sachs? But some of those executives had ties to pre-9/11 put options. You know, the put, P-U-T, options that, kind of disappeared and nobody really wanted to have a look at. The money boys in the square mile made a shit ton. A shit ton. Technical term. So, Neil Cunningham, that's very funny. Isn't that what John Bryan did with Sarah Ferguson? According to John Bryan, he did. Influence and knowledge, says Rich. So should we get to Israel and the US Middle East policy? Because this is going to take us onto another level, a little deeper. Post 9/11, there were stronger US-Israeli alliances. I mean, look at what's going on in America now. I mean, there's varying. Epstein was a Mossad asset. Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm doing that on purpose, by the way, just to make sure that you're still awake. Ghislaine Maxwell, Mossad asset. And they're all trying to implicate Trump. Yet there's varying people coming out of Epstein's inner circle going, nah, Jeffrey told me that he wasn't involved at all. That's because Trump likes powerful women. Not young girls, powerful women. Terry Wookfit. Yeah, I know. Bryant was sucking Fergie's toes in the papers, and there was photos of him doing it. No, I can't. No, I can't. They definitely would sue. Jesus, I might have a hibiscus. Where are we? Ooh, okay. So the Israel and US Middle East policy, that's where I believe all this stemmed from. So 9/11 was used to justify unconditional support for Israel's security policies. Are you aware of that? Something's just flown past my head. I mentioned Israel, and weird shit starts happening. So there was also another narrative that wasn't promulgated, wasn't pushed hard, but if you know what I mean. Wow, there's some stuff going on in the chat that I need to have a look at. Rishi Sunak will donate Goldman Sachs' salary to charity, anything for a seat in the House of Peas. Yeah, that's what he wants. But look, there's too many people in front of him. There's Bojo the Clown and various other leaders of the Conservative Party. He's going to have to wait for his seat in the House of Clowns. So the Clash of Civilizations narrative helped push for wars against Israel's enemies, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. So remember, I told you about the Rothschilds needing the central banks of every single country around planet Earth. And they've only got 6 to go. There's, 140 odd countries around the world? But I've just mentioned that particular Clash of Civilizations narrative to help Israel pushing for wars against Israel's enemies. So Syria's been taken care of, Iraq's been taken care of, and there's Iran. So is that going to be a black swan event with Iran? Iran's got nearly 100 million people. Israel's tiny. But it's coming out that they want the greater Israel. No, they don't. They just want the bloody gas and oil under the Gaza Strip. That's where the gas and oil is. And they've been exploring the East Mediterranean just off the coast of Israel, whether you want to go up to Lebanon or Accra, where the Templars had a stronghold. The O'Borrell, that is correct. Trump had young girls working in Mar-a-Lago. Virginia Giuffre, or Roberts, was one of them, but all above board. Epstein stole her away, and Trump took a dislike to Epstein. Oh, yeah. Right. Ninja coming out. Stuart saying on Sky News Australia, Trump-Putin meeting will be a listening exercise amid ongoing Ukraine war. Interesting. Lauren Taylor says, all you informed and intelligent people out there in our community need to have a look at GB Energy. There is something rotten in the state. Quite. I'm not going to mention the play's name. Bad Wolf Project. Why Boris earned 2.3 million whilst doing nothing, while not donating 1 penny to charity? So we've looked at the Middle East policy. So should we have a deeper analysis of Thermite and the WTC? Evidence. So, question that you didn't ask, you should have done. What is Thermite? So just for your premise, Thermite is a high temperature incendiary compound. It's aluminium and iron oxide. It's used in controlled demolitions and welding. It burns at 2,500 degrees centigrade, enough to melt steel. Is there any evidence of Thermite in WTC dust? Fucking hell, I'm going to kill it. I am going to kill it. Is there evidence of Thermite in WTC dust? Dr. Stephen Jones's findings in 2006, he discovered red-grey chips in WTC dust. Now, the lab test showed nanothermite, military-grade explosive material. Published it in a peer-reviewed journal, but it was ignored by the American government. Other scientists confirmed that Thermite was found in the dust. Dr. Niels Harrit from the University of Copenhagen co-authored a study confirming unexplained thermitic material in the dust. Dr. Judy Wood, former professor, argued directed energy weapons, well, we're talking Project Bluebeam here, were used, citing toasted cars and dustification of steel. Now, it was never really promoted widely, but there were toasted cars. The tops of the cars were burned badly, but not the sides and the underneaths. But you would have thought that, I think it's God telling me to go to bed, you would imagine that all of the stuff that came down from the WTC towers 1 and 2 wouldn't have just burned the tops of the cars. It would have completely collapsed all of the cars on the ground as all of the stuff was falling onto it. So I'm going to ask you a question. Why does this matter? Well, fires alone can't melt steel. As I've said previously, jet fuel burns at 800 degrees Celsius. Steel weakens at 600 degrees Celsius, but doesn't melt until 1500 degrees Celsius. And I know we were discussing that last night on the live. There's the molten metal in the rubble. Firefighters reported molten steel flowing like lava weeks after 9/11. And the American government's avoidance, they refused to test for thermite, sticking to the fire-induced collapse theory. So what implications are there if thermite was used in the collapse of the two towers? Well, if thermite was used, it means pre-planted explosives, and from what I understand, there was stuff going on, and I think some of the let me have a think about this, because I was told this quite close after 9/11, that there was things happening in the buildings, and on the day of the attack, the alarm, was it the alarms that were set, stopped. I'll have to have a think about it. But pre-planted explosives, there was a possibility that happened in the week leading up to 9/11. And they're saying thermite could have been in the building. Demolition experts had access to the WTC beforehand. So the official story of just planes and fires, in my view, is false. So connecting the dots, who would be the beneficiaries? I'll say it again. The military-industrial complex, the neocons, oil interests, and surveillance state gained massively from 9/11. The controlled demolition evidence, WTC-7's collapse. Not a single plane hit it. It then collapsed, 6.5 seconds, free fall speed, thermite residue suggested explosives at WTC-7's collapse. The Pentagon evidence gaps imply a possible cover-up. And the foreknowledge, insider trading, ignored warnings, and the project for the new American century documents suggest at least some elites knew. So, was 9/11 an inside job? The mainstream view will go, and there'll be people here going, nah. You're talking out your backside, Adrian. It wasn't an inside job, but intelligence failures allowed it. The critical view would be evidence points to complicity at some level, whether let it happen or made it happen. And I think so tomorrow night on the live, I will start with the whistleblowers. There were whistleblowers named and were willing to stand up and be counted in front of the world's media. And I will start with those whistleblowers because this is, I mean, I could keep going for another couple of hours. The amount of research I've done and the amount of information that I have. I'm about a third of the way through. So if I don't get it done all tomorrow night, I've done 2 hours so far tonight. If I don't get it all done tomorrow night, I'll do another live on Thursday night. So as far as you and I are concerned, we now know that the official 9/11 narrative has been challenged by FBI agents, CIA operatives, military officials and scientists who risked their careers to expose inconsistencies. So I will start tomorrow night's live, as well as looking at whatever's happening in the world tomorrow. There might be some stuff coming out of Washington. But I will start with these whistleblowers and what they have said and how they've said it, because we've still got quite a lot of information to go through. So if you're in the body of the Kirk so far this evening, please smash the likes on your way out. Because I would like to try and get it to at least 200 likes on each individual live. So if you can, and be generous with me, please just smash the likes on your way out of the body of the Kirk. It's Tuesday night's live, 217. We'll do 218 tomorrow, and we'll do more about 9/11 with all of the research that I've done over the last 20 odd years. But don't forget, thank you for your likes, obviously, and your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. Thank you for being here this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the information so far, and we'll do more from the get-go Wednesday night. I'll be in the body of the Kirk from 7:15, but we'll get going 7:30. Whatever you do, wherever you go, please be safe and well. Don't forget to take your Battenberg with you, and obviously, the theatre of the mind. This is not a show. This is a mission. And the mission is to inform, educate, and give people understanding on what is going on in the world. And we'll go again. The mission returns and starts again 7:30 Wednesday evening. See you tomorrow, 7:30.